Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. The U.S. and Iran are offering no clear path to resolving the war, as both claim they will be the ones to end the conflict. Meanwhile, Iran continues to threaten to block all oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, claiming responsibility for attacks on at least 15 vessels attempting to pass through the world's crucial oil choke point. South Korea says it'll release around 22 million barrels of oil from its strategic reserves as part of a coordinated action by the International Energy Agency members to launch the largest ever oil release to calm surging prices. At the National Assembly, lawmakers are set to pass a special bill later today that backs the $350 billion investment plan in the United States. The bill focuses on establishing a new body that would operate a dedicated investment fund financed through government contributions, entrusted assets, and investment bonds. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the conflict in the Middle East ignited. Both the United States and Iran insist they will be the ones to end the war, deepening a standoff with no clear path to a resolution. Our An Sung-jin has the details.
U.S. President Donald Trump said the ongoing situation in Iran could end, quote, whenever I want. In a phone interview with Axios on Wednesday, he insisted the military campaign was going very well and that the U.S. forces were ahead of schedule.
We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job, right? Over the past 11 days, our military has virtually destroyed Iran.
The White House also emphasized that the operation would only end when Trump determines that the military objectives have been fully achieved. Israel, fighting alongside the U.S., stated that it will not impose a time limit on its campaign until all objectives are achieved and victory is secured. However, Iranian officials rejected the idea that Washington can unilaterally decide when the conflict ends.
I have repeatedly warned Trump, you can start a war, but we will decide how it ends.
Iran has reportedly rejected 2 ceasefire messages delivered through Trump's envoy. According to The Guardian, the internal consensus among Iran's leadership largely favors continuing the fight for now, with officials believing the regime can endure the conflict. Meanwhile, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has claimed responsibility for attacks on vessels attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. At least 15 vessels in the area have been attacked since the beginning of hostilities, with Iran continuing to threaten to block all oil shipments through the waterway. The U.S. has warned of possible airstrikes on civilian ports as retaliatory measures. With the Strait of Hormuz being one of the world's most critical energy corridors, fears are mounting that global energy prices could surge if the strait remains closed. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
South Korea will release more than 22 million barrels of oil from its strategic reserves as part of the International Energy Agency's largest ever coordinated stock draw. The move comes as global crude oil prices remain volatile despite plans by the 32 member nations to inject 400 million barrels into the market amid ongoing Middle East tensions. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
South Korea plans to release 22.46 million barrels of oil from its strategic reserves as part of a coordinated action by member countries of the International Energy Agency aimed at stabilizing global energy markets. Seoul's industry ministry announced the plan on Wednesday, shortly after the 32 member nations of the Paris-based agency unanimously agreed to carry out the largest collective oil stock release in the organization's history. In total, about 400 million barrels of oil will be made available to the market in an effort to ease supply disruptions and curb rising crude prices linked to the ongoing war involving the United States, Israel, and Iran.
As a result of the discussions among IEA members, I can now announce that IEA countries have unanimously decided to launch the largest ever release of emergency oil stocks in our agency's history. IEA countries will be making 400 million barrels of oil available.
South Korea's contribution represents about 5.6% of the total volume to be released. The size of each country's release was calculated based on its share of overall oil consumption among IEA members. The U.S. Energy Department also issued a press release saying the administration would release 172 million barrels of oil from its reserves. Officials say the timing and detailed schedule of the coordinated release will be determined in the coming period. The decision comes as global oil markets continue to show volatility despite expectations of increased supply. On Wednesday, Brent crude rose 4.8% to $91.98 per barrel on the ICE Futures Exchange in London. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude also climbed 4.6% to $87.25 per barrel, moving above levels seen before the IEA announcement. Analysts say the record release underscores the urgency among major economies to prevent further spikes in oil prices and limit the broader economic impact of the conflict. 이승재, Arirang News.
Concerns are growing here in Seoul as the United States is reportedly moving air defense assets stationed in South Korea out of the country for use in the conflict in the Middle East. For more on this, we're joined today by Professor Andrew Millard, head of the Department of International Relations at Changwon National University. Professor Millard, thanks for coming on today. There are concerns that the U.S. may be redeploying air defense assets stationed in Korea for use in the war with Iran, right? What could this mean for South Korea's security?
Good morning. Thanks for having me again. So yes, I mean, there have been reports that the US, if not already, that very soon will start deploying both Patriot missiles and also parts of the THAAD air defense system to the Middle East. Now, the South Korean government has been very quick to reassure people that even if these deployments do happen, that South Korea still has more than enough capabilities to deter any sort of aggression from North Korea or anyone else. And we should also remember, even if the US does deploy some of these weapons and systems, this is not a complete withdrawal of the US forces. This is just a very small fraction. So there'll be more than enough US capabilities remaining in Korea to defend Korea in any case of attack. But we should also remember, for the past year, President Lee has been really pushing to regain full operational control, not only in peacetime, but also in times of conflict. So we should be very clear that South Korea is capable of deterring any attack. And we should also factor in the account that if there were some sort of aggression against South Korea, this would be a very different type of conflict. This would not be only the US and South Korea, but South Korea, as we know, is part of the NATO plus IP4 group. So if there was any sort of aggression against South Korea, we would expect support from other countries, other members of the NATO plus IP4 group. So really, overall, even if some of these redeployments do happen, South Korea, in terms of security, it's still in an incredibly strong position.
I see. And while that's happening, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs is currently in South Korea. How might Korean and U.S. officials address the situation in the Middle East?
So I think there's likely going to be several different issues that they're going to talk about. So you mentioned just before at the start about the oil and South Korea releasing these 22 million barrels of oil reserves. So definitely the economic impact and the oil crisis, this is going to be something they'll discuss. But in terms of security, we should expect that South Korea and the US are going to come out with a very united front. So South Korea will support officially any sort of redeployment of weapons. And we should point out, these would also be fairly short-term redeployments. Once the war in Iran is finished, we don't know when that's going to be, but those weapons will likely be redeployed back to Korea. So the South Koreans will fully support the US, but they'll also likely discuss certain issues like the relationship between North Korea and Iran, what potential intelligence sharing there is between North Korea and Iran? Is there any weapons technology being shared? What cooperation is happening? And also, if there was some sort of escalation, again, how would they counter that in the future?
Right, you just talked about North Korea. Could this meeting also provide an opportunity to sort of discuss bringing North Korea back to dialogue, especially since President Donald Trump is planning to travel to Beijing to meet with China's Xi Jinping next month?
Right. So President Lee, he's come into office last June, so he's been about 9 months now. He was very clear from the start that he wanted to re-engage with North Korea. He wanted to restart the dialogue. Now, so far, this has not been successful. So it's quite clear that direct attempts to have dialogue with North Korea have failed. And so basically now his option is to sort of go through relations with other countries. And what we're seeing right now, so today, for example, North Korea and China, for the first time in 6 years, they are going to reopen the rail links between the countries. So those were closed after the start of COVID. So this shows that North Korea and China have very good relations. So what the South Koreans can do is they can try and push the US when Donald Trump meets with Xi Jinping in April to try to have China encourage North Korea to come back to the table for some dialogue. But of course, there needs to be some sort of agenda. They need to try to incentivize North Korea to come back to the table. At the moment, what is the benefit for North Korea to do this? Right now, as we've seen, North Korea, it's really starting to expand its relations elsewhere. So how can South Korea really push them?
Right, and what North Korea said yesterday is that leader Kim Jong-un oversaw a cruise missile test from a naval destroyer, and this was the second test of its kind in a week, right? What might be behind this move?
So I don't think we should really be reading too much into this. Of course, this is a sign that North Korea is continuing to expand its military, continuing to develop its weapon system and improve, modernize the technology. And we've definitely seen over the past sort of few months, past year, North Korea has been focusing a lot more on its navy, on expanding its maritime capabilities. And so these tests, which, let's face it, even though we criticize North Korea a lot, they do regularly carry out these missile tests. So again, we know it's been expanding its naval capabilities. We know it tests missiles regularly. So this is just a continuation of that development. So it's significant in that clearly they are continuing to develop, but it's not something that's sort of out of the blue and completely unexpected.
I see. All right, Professor Miller, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
South Korea's National Assembly is set to pass a special bill later today to manage strategic investments in the United States. The legislation would establish a new body to carry out a memorandum of understanding, pledging $350 billion in investment in the United States. The body would operate a dedicated investment fund financed through government contributions, entrusted assets, and investment bonds. Lawmakers are also expected to request a parliamentary probe into alleged politically motivated prosecutions under the former administration of former President Yoon Suk-yeol and vote on dozens of additional livelihood and reform bills. Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung has hosted his Ghanaian counterpart for talks. Strengthening cooperation on trade, critical minerals, and maritime security topped the agenda. Our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
Bolstering the partnership was the focal point as President Lee Jae-myung hosted his Ghanaian counterpart, John Mahama, noting the two countries' shared experiences of achieving democracy and the increasing trade volume.
서아프리카 3개국과 국경을 맞대고 있는 해양국 가나는 대한민국의 아프리카 시장 진출을 잇는 든든한 교두보이기도 합니다. 그리고 최근에는 매우 큰 규모의 벼 재배 단지를 함께 조성해서 내년부터 한국산 벼 종자를 생산할 예정으로 있습니다.
Ghana, like other African countries, has a potential for critical minerals. And so currently we're exploiting bauxite, manganese, and gold. And we've discovered vast reserves of lithium. Korea has the technology, and we believe that we can explore these minerals together.
Maritime security was also high on the agenda.
가나는 해적 위협이 상존하는 기니만에서 우리 대한민국 국민들의 안전을 지키는데 그동안 적극적으로 협조해 준 참으로 고마운 나라이기도 합니다.
The issue of piracy is of major concern to Korea, just as it is to Ghana. And so I'm happy that one of the memorandums we're going to sign is to do with maritime safety.
MOUs were signed on Wednesday for cooperation not only on maritime security, but also on technology and science, as well as joint tackling of climate change. There was a friendly atmosphere as the leaders touched upon a link between the two countries, represented by Ghana Chocolate, a chocolate bar made from Ghanaian cocoa that was launched in Korea more than 50 years ago. Lee has presented Mahama with the chocolate, who's on a working visit to South Korea. The sentiment was extended to cultural and people-to-people exchanges.
가나 현지에서도 영화, 식품, 화장품 같은 우리 문화가 큰 사랑을 받고 있다고 알고 있습니다.
When I was coming, somebody asked me to bring them back kimchi. And our young people, including my children, listen to K-pop music.
Seoul's top office added that the leaders also addressed regional and global issues, including the Middle East, and said it hoped to expand the nation's diplomatic horizons. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
In sports, Team Korea added 2 more silver medals at this year's Winter Paralympics in Milan-Cortina, surpassing the country's previous best performance at a single Winter Paralympics set at the 2018 Pyeongchang Games. Kim Yoon-ji claimed silver in the women's 10-kilometer cross-country interval start on Wednesday, giving her 1 gold and 2 silver medals at this year's Games. Kim has now also set a new national record for the most medals won by a South Korean athlete at a single Winter Paralympics. In wheelchair curling mixed doubles, Baek Hye-jin and Lee Yong-seok secured silver after a 9-7 loss to China in a final that went into extra ends. South Korea has won 5 medals, 1 gold, 3 silver, and 1 bronze. Over the weekend, the world observed International Women's Day, celebrating the progress made while reflecting on key challenges that still lie ahead in terms of advancing gender equality. The UN Women's Center in Seoul held a ceremony to commemorate the day on Wednesday to invite experts to delve into the discourse. Our Kim Bo-kyung was there.
Though Korean society has seen significant progress in gender equality, there is still a gap that cannot be narrowed enough. Not just in lower representation in economic activities and leadership, but also in terms of a digital society and crime.
As AI becomes part of everyday life, we must address problems like deepfakes used for digital sex crimes and gender-based violence in relationships. Gender equality is a value for everyone, and it is key to making our society more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable.
Commemorating this year's International Women's Day, the UN Women Knowledge and Partnership Center in Seoul held a ceremony, inviting pundits who have witnessed ongoing gender inequalities and are trying to overcome them. Among the speakers was a math professor who emphasized that AI learns from already unfair data, causing itself to learn discrimination against women.
If different perspectives are missing when technology is designed, it can create bias. When this technology is used in hiring, healthcare, or the justice system, it can make discrimination part of the system. Women's participation in science and technology is not just about numbers. It is about fairness.
Gender equality is not just a women's matter, in that gender equality lets men go beyond the traditional idea of being manly, come out of the so-called man box. The progress in equality allows men to be freed.
I believe that when men accept and take part in gender equality, it can also help solve men's problems and bring them greater freedom. For men who want to move away from the patriarchy but feel confused within a strong patriarchal system, gender equality can offer a real solution and a new model of masculinity.
Gender bias and discrimination still exist across many areas of society, often unconsciously. By encouraging open discussion on these issues, South Korea aims to move toward a more gender-equal society, not only for women, but for everyone. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. Reports suggest that a devastating missile strike on an Iranian girls' school was due to U.S. forces using outdated intelligence. Video evidence points to a U.S. Tomahawk missile hitting the school in southern Minab during the opening wave of attacks against Iran. The strike killed 150 students. Sources told Reuters that military planners used outdated targeting packages and didn't update coordinates. The school sat adjacent to a Revolutionary Guard compound. President Trump stated he will await the final results of the inquiry, while defense officials maintain the U.S. does not deliberately target civilian structures. G7 leaders on Wednesday rejected easing of sanctions against Russia, despite the disruption to the global energy markets caused by the war in the Middle East. French President Emmanuel Macron confirmed the decision following a high-level video meeting to discuss the economic impact of the U.S.-Iran conflict. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen backed Macron's stance, saying it is, quote, not the moment to relax sanctions on Russia. She also emphasized that navigation through the strategic Strait of Hormuz, through which around 20% of the world's oil is moved, remains the immediate priority. In Chile, conservative leader Jose Antonio Kast has taken the oath of office as the country's president, vowing to prioritize national security and economic reform. Kast assumed power in Valparaiso on Wednesday. Chile's new president immediately pledged to utilize the full force of law to clamp down on illegal migration and violent crime. Regional leaders from Argentina, Ecuador, and Paraguay attended the ceremony. Iran's sports minister announced on Wednesday that the Iranian national team will not participate in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Sports Minister Ahmad Doniamali cited the U.S. assassination of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei as the primary reason for the boycott and labeled the U.S. a, quote, corrupt regime. This comes despite FIFA President Gianni Infantino saying that U.S. President Donald Trump would welcome the team. All of Iran's scheduled group stage matches were set to take place in American cities, including Los Angeles and Seattle.
Western regions will have fine early spring weather under mostly sunny skies, but across the eastern parts of Korea, rain and gusty winds are expected. There could be 5 to 20 millimeters of rainfall along with thunderstorms, while Gyeongsangdo provinces will see spotty rain, which won't be enough to lift the dry weather alerts. Meanwhile, mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province will be snowy with more than 20 centimeters of snowfall expected through tomorrow, with a heavy snow advisory being issued. And instead of wet weather, most of the western regions will be trapped in that dusty air through the morning, but air quality should gradually improve later in the afternoon. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 13 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Gyeongju will be topping out at 12 degrees. Now, rain and snow along the east coast will continue through Friday, while the rest of the country will have typical early spring weather with big temperature swings.
Now that's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
서양 요리는 오직 하나의 주인공을 위한 무대입니다. 완벽하게 계산된 정물화 같죠. 그런데 한식은 밥과 찬이 어우러져 완성되는 한상이 더 중요해요. 마치 자연을 한 폭에 담은 풍경을 같달까요?
요리사인 저도 한국 음식에 대해서 제대로 모르는 거예요.
향이 미쳤다. 저도 맛보고 싶어요. 알면 알수록 과학적이고 이렇게 하면 할수록 제가 더 빠져드는다.
온다. 엄청 왔다. 같이 여행을 한번 떠나보시죠.
How to survive in Korea. Weddings. Step 0. Attire. As a guest, dress formal to business casual. Avoid wearing all white, shorts, or going topless. Step 1. Arrival time. Arrive 30 minutes prior to the wedding ceremony. Too many cars, too many halls, too many people. There are many twists and turns. Take pictures and shake hands. And write your name vertically, not horizontally, in the guest book. Step 2. Or, shibor. 50,000 won, 100,000 won, 150,000 won. Cash gifts are given in these units. Decide on the amount based on your relationship. Write your name vertically on the envelope. Step 3. Wedding etiquette. Fill up the front row. Guests have 3 duties to fulfill: clapping, cheering, and taking pictures. Step 4. Dining. Take off your jacket. This will be your seat from now on. Start with the not your everyday delicacies. Kalbijjim. Yes. Bossa. Yes. Chili shrimps. Definitely yes. Kimbap. Yeah. Only if you can't live without it. No need to pile up food. You have more than one opportunity. Did you survive the wedding? Wait. Did someone catch your eye? What are you waiting for? You're looking fine today.
A country where traditional and modern cultures coexist.
Where you can explore spectacular landscapes and nature.
Savor the delights of traveling at every turn.
Where? Korea, of course.
There are some must-visit places in Korea. Ones that appear in every tour guidebook: Hangang River, Gyeongbokgung Palace from the Joseon Dynasty, and...
Yes, these are essentials, but I want to go somewhere a little different. I don't have to follow the guidebook. For example, filming locations for K-pop music videos or K-dramas and movies.
Traveling is all about taking it slow. A long walk at your own pace, or even zoning out somewhere quiet. Doesn't it sound relaxing?
You travel for the experience, trying something new in a foreign place, de-stressing and making lifetime memories, taking tons of pictures along the way.
70% of the Korean territory is mountainous. Naturally, hiking is a very popular pastime in Korea. Not your kind of activity? Trust me, the view will make the effort worth it. Just catch your breath by the cold stream in the valley.
Korea is surrounded by the sea on 3 sides. From the beach, you can enjoy a wide open view as well as various water activities. But the riverside is great too. There's plenty to see and do.
If you're in Korea, you can't miss the night view full of dazzling lights.
Yes, even the same place can have a totally different vibe at night.
Want to make unforgettable memories?
How about traveling to all corners of Korea? Join us next time to explore more about Korean culture.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Thursday, March 12th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Kyun.
Good morning.
Good morning. Also Fabius with us.
Great to be here.
Great to have you. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So as we head toward the end of the work week, many people are already thinking about how they want to spend their time off. For some, that means planning their next getaway. And travel is one way to experience something new, whether it's exploring a new culture or simply taking a break from the daily routine. So today, we're going to talk about traveling. So, Kyun, do you enjoy traveling? Do you have any plans to visit a country outside of Korea this year?
I'm really excited to talk about today's topic because it's, traveling. Who doesn't love traveling?
Right, yeah.
We all love it.
I love traveling, but as much as I love to stay at home and relax during my break times, I also love traveling within the country and, of course, overseas. At the end of the year, I plan to hopefully to travel somewhere in Thailand, most probably Chiang Mai, for at least 1 month. Now,
That's a whole month, wow.
Yeah, well, that's pretty long, I know. But I can only do this because I'm a freelancer. And I've never actually experienced staying overseas for over, I guess, like in one city for over a week. And I think it'll be a perfect opportunity for me to actually, go on a getaway for that long outside of home. Because you guys would definitely agree with me, all trips seem to be like really short. And it's a shame when you have to go back home, you're like, oh, I want to stay longer. But staying in one city for 1 month will be, I think, plenty of time to really experience the culture, the food, and the overall vibe being outside of home for that long. So, I mean, fingers crossed, it's part of the plan. It's in the planning stages. I haven't bought the tickets yet. But once I do buy the tickets, I'll know I'll be going for sure. But for now, I'm just trying to keep myself motivated, work as much as I can, save up for that month.
I feel like as long as you get the chance or opportunity, you should definitely do that when you're young, especially.
When I'm young.
Right.
when it's possible.
It's not easy to find the opportunity to do that either. Right. So that sounds really exciting. What about you, Fabian?
Well, I want to join. I want to join if I can. I mean, who doesn't love traveling? I feel like traveling is one of the best ways to divide moments in your life and kind of like have an archive of all of the things that you experience. And in my case, even living in South Korea as a foreigner, it feels like traveling sometimes. There's a lot of places that I haven't explored, but most of all, I'm actually traveling to Thailand in a few weeks.
What a coincidence!
Yes,
lucky
big
you.
Coincidence. And I'm so ready to give up the long padding and the cold that I had here in Korea because this winter has been quite tough. And so I'm ready for the swimsuits and the sunglasses.
I mean, it's still pretty cold, which is why I feel like a lot of people will relate to how a tropical getaway sounds really good. So yeah, we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen.
Traveling has always been popular, but in recent years, it's become something many people actively make time and set aside money to do. For the younger generations in particular, travel is often seen as an important life experience rather than just an occasional luxury. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at why millennials and Gen Z travel more than previous generations, what they value most when planning a trip, and some useful tips for overseas travelers visiting Korea.
As we just saw in the video, travel has become an increasingly important part of life for many millennials and Gen Zs who are prioritizing new experiences and meaningful moments from their trips. And new data also show which destinations around the world are catching the attention of young travelers. So, Kyun, what travelers are topping the travel wish list for young travelers? Is South Korea on it?
So, yes, to answer your question, yes, they are. A leading Hong Kong-based technology travel company called Klook conducted a survey asking young people around the world where their favorite travel destinations are. So let's take a look at the screen to find out the results. Coming in at first place was Japan, followed by Australia, Singapore, the Middle East, and South Korea at 5th. Now, South Korea ranked 8th in the 2025 survey, but climbed 3 places in just 1 year. Moreover, among young Gen Zs respondents alone, Korea ranked 3rd following Japan and Australia. Now, respondents from major countries including Indonesia, the Philippines, and Thailand and Vietnam selected South Korea as their top destination they hope to visit again highlighting the increasing popularity of South Korea among young tourists.
I think it's quite notable that Korea has climbed the rankings so quickly, especially among Gen Zs. And the survey also looked at what young travelers value most when planning a trip. So what do people say is most important to them when they choose the destination they want to go to?
According to that same survey that Ki-hoon just mentioned, apparently MCs prioritize eating and drinking the most. So according to the same survey, as we can see in the results, thus votes accounted to 50% of the total votes. And right after we had local chores and visiting natural spots, especially those that might not be here anymore after a few years, and both accounted to 42% and 41% of the votes respectively. Some other priorities that scored a little bit lower were cultural and art festivals with 39% of the votes, and then healthy relaxation at 31%. And it also seems like MCs are really prioritizing having individual experiences and trying to really get in touch with the culture and experiencing local activities and local food. Basically things that they cannot get when they are in their own home country. So we are seeing a little bit of a shift in priorities and things that people enjoy doing when traveling. So it's not about just going to this very famous spots and taking a picture and sharing it online. It's more about getting in touch with the culture. And as Ki-hoon said, maybe spending a longer time gives you the opportunity to really live how the country explores itself as a whole culture in a different sense.
Right, so it sounds like for young people, travel is more about now getting that more immersive experience. So we also want to hear directly from our viewers what they thought as well. So we ran a poll on the Arirang News YouTube channel asking, what are your criteria for choosing a travel destination? So here's what the results showed. The majority, or 41% of respondents, said budget was the most important factor. This was followed by cultural experiences at 26%. And safety at 21%, while 12% said the natural environment was their top consideration. So it's not actually that surprising that obviously budget comes first, especially as travel costs remain high worldwide. So while affordability matters most, travelers still want meaningful experiences once they get there. And to gain a broader perspective on this, we're going to speak with a travel content creator. That conversation is coming up right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Majid from Pakistan, who creates travel content about his experiences in Korea. So hello, Majid. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's always good to be back at Arirang, and hi to Ki-hoon and Fabio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Majid, you really are the perfect person for this topic. So what do you personally enjoy the most about traveling, and what made you become a travel YouTuber specifically focused on Korea?
Okay, so like as Ki-hoon was saying, it's one of those topics I can speak for hours, but since we don't have enough time, so I would stick to 1 or 2 minutes answer. So first of all, why I love traveling, Fabio was saying the same, who wouldn't love traveling? For me, it's I always say, the best stories are found between the pages of our passport. So, every time after travel, every time I go look back on those travel memories, it makes me feel really happy. So I enjoy, I love meeting people, experiencing new culture, and we all have a lot of prejudice. So when you actually travel, when you actually meet people, you learn a lot. And it's one of those things that you spend money and it makes you rich. So these are one of the reasons I love travel. It makes me happy. It makes me learn a lot about the world. And about Korea, Korea, I've been living here for 10 years and there are so many things in Korea, I would say does not matter what time of the year you come to Korea, whether it's spring, autumn, fall, winter, summer, there is always something going on. And there is so many things to show to people. So from let's say from DMZ to Jeju-do, from Ulleungdo, Dokdo and Mokpo, I have traveled a lot, and I started sharing my love for Korea and my favorite travel destinations online, and people were like, wow, Majid, show us more, we are coming to Korea in 1 year, we are coming into Korea in 5 years, so please keep on sharing more. So that's why I kept on creating travel related content in Korea, and I'm in love with Korea, and I hope right now Korea is at number 5, and I hope South Korea will be number 1 destination for all the young people in next year or so.
Majid, thanks to you, I think Korea can take the first spot. The most wanted travel spots. By the way, you're dressed very nice. You look like a pilot who just traveled all around the world. Anyway, why do you think millennials and Gen Zs are especially drawn to traveling itself?
Okay, so if we generally talking about traveling overall, Fabio was saying, a lot of people want to escape the hustle and bustle of, life. A lot of people, young millennials and Gen Z, could get stressed also, but now, they since they are connected with the world, they have Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. They can see the places where they want to go. So it's in order to, first of all, in order to feel less stressed, in order to escape from the hustle and bustle, they love traveling a lot. Secondly, for immersive experiences, they want to go, instead of seeing some place 100 times online, they would rather go and see that place in person. So that's why they travel a lot. And if we talk about traveling in Korea, why millennials and Gen Z are coming to Korea, I would say definitely Hallyu, Korean, K-pop, K-dramas are one of the reasons. And I was looking at survey, almost 1 in 3 international visitors who are coming to Korea, they are under 30, they are young people. And one of the reasons are definitely Hallyu and K-pop. They want to see the MV that was BTS MV that was shot in some places. They want to see their favorite K-drama filming location. So a lot of times they come to Korea because of Hallyu wave. A lot of times they come to Korea because of Korean food, in the survey, food and drinks was number 1, criteria. So a lot of people, they see Korean food and drinks online on their K-dramas, so they want to eat those food in Korea. And Korea has a lot of good restaurants, a lot of cafes. So yep, a lot of millennials, they are coming to Korea a lot because of Hallyu wave, Korean food and Korean culture, and because of good people like you guys.
Can I ask a very quick question? What's
Sure.
your favorite Korean food?
My favorite Korean food is 닭갈비. I literally can eat it every day.
Yeah, 닭갈비 is very good. It's very, very good. And I'm also very happy that you're able to share these different sides of Korea with other people, and also these ideas that you have about traveling, because they're very beautiful. And how would you say it would be the perfect way for people to discover their perfect travel destination?
Okay, so again, if we are talking about traveling abroad to other countries, I would say, first of all, just don't go where everyone is going. First of all, have what think about it, what you actually want to experience. Do you like foods? Do you like museums? If everyone is saying this place is very popular, just don't go with the flow. No, you have to first of all see what you actually like. So do a bit of give yourself a bit of time and see what you actually like. Secondly, there are platforms like the survey we were sharing from Klook. So Klook, Trip, these are some of the platforms that keep on sharing a lot of good places. So that's how you can decide where you want to go. And if we talk about traveling to Korea, I would say there are platforms like Visit Korea Committee, or Korea Tourism Organization, Seoul Tourism Organization, Visit Seoul, STO, Visit Jeonju. So these are all the platforms that keep on sharing a lot of festivals happening in Korea and in specific cities. So please try to follow them, and then you can keep on let's say, for example, Korea Tourism Organization, they keep on sharing what are the festivals that will be coming in this year. So follow those accounts, and that's how you will learn when to travel, what will be the best places to go, and then you can decide and make a perfect plan for travel in Korea or abroad. And by the way, I just came back from Thailand, so Gi-hun was like, we'll be going for 1 year. Fabio wants to go, and I just came back last week. I was in Thailand too.
We should plan a trip together next time then.
We definitely should. It's gonna be. Let's do news generation team in Thailand. From Thailand.
Well, thank you so much for this informative answer. All these informative answers, Majid.
Thank you so much, Sujin. Thank you so much, Kyun and Fabio. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to see you again, and happy traveling. Kyun, we would love to see your stories on Instagram when you will be in Thailand. Keep sharing.
We'll upload them. Okay, thank you, Majid.
Right.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a lovely day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
So we've just spoken with a travel creator about why he enjoys traveling, why the younger generations in particular love to travel, and his personal tips on how to find the perfect destination. But there are also broader social and economic reasons behind this growing travel trend. So why are younger generations in particular traveling more than previous generations, Kyun?
That's a very good question because there is a sad kind of truth behind the reasons why young people travel more. It's because compared to our previous generations, due to globally high inflation, rising real estate prices, millennials and Gen Zs feel it's a lot more difficult to save up money to purchase a house and accumulate assets through various means of investment. So they feel it's better to actually use that money to just travel around the world to buy experiences and memories instead of sacrificing those moments to save up for something bigger like a house, a car, or investing more into one's future. Furthermore, a sense of insecurity has grown a lot bigger among the younger generation, so they experience burnout much faster than our parents' generation. Hence, they choose to escape from the harsh reality, the hustle and bustle, by going on a trip to kind of take their mind off work and find a source of relaxation for that moment.
I think I was also planning a trip towards the end of the year, but maybe I should,
It keeps you motivated, it keeps you going. It makes you like do extra gigs to save up more.
Let's hold on to something. That really shows how travel has become more about experiences and long-term possessions. And travel can also be a way for the younger generations to express their identity, like Majid just said earlier. Like it's a way to really find out what's really important to you. So how has it become a way for people to express themselves, Samuel?
Well, I think you framed it very well. It's about buying an experience. So when you do so, you obviously want to make it an experience that caters to your own personality and the things that you like. So with all of the diverse options that we have, we obviously tend to focus on the things that we really want to do and that we cannot do on our home country. It's a way of evading our day by day. And so because of that, some people like to do adventurous things like trekking through mountains or camping in the desert. Some people prefer more romantic spots or emotional destinations, like for example going to hot springs that are Nordic, or maybe even doing a temple stay in Korea might be a good option. Some people plan trips around major sport events or even the concert of their favorite artists. I, for example, love the sea, so I always tend to prioritize destinations that have a tropical vibe or beautiful water, and it's always about finding things that are aesthetically pleasing and kind of fit my Pinterest mood board. So I always have like those pins and ideas of the things that I want to see, and so I feel like everyone is able to customize their travel agenda depending on what they like. So it's more about individuality rather than just exploring what everyone has already seen.
Right, I think that's what really stands about the travel trends that we see today. And so with that in mind, let's talk about the destinations right here in Korea. So what Korean destinations would you recommend to travelers?
So the most recent place that I visited outside of Seoul metropolitan area is actually Yeosu. It's a port city located in Jeollanam-do province, and it's actually more commonly known to Koreans thanks to the big hit song by the Korean singer Jang Bum-jun. The song title 여수 밤바다 or 여수 night sea. Now, although I was there during the daytime, I didn't really get the chance to see the night sea. I was very surprised at the delicious food I actually had. I only had one meal. It was actually called 세조개 삼합. Now, sejoge is like egg cockles or bird clams because of the shape of the clam, and brisket on top of kimchi. So all three ingredients are cooked in just one hot grill pan and eaten with three ingredients stacked on top of each other. Now, the flavor just bursts inside your mouth, and every time you chew, like the juiciness, the savoriness, and the kimchi as well, everything just mixes together. And I was just so, I was like astonished at how beautiful it was, how nice it was, and it's very affordable. And because of the location of Yeosu, like the ingredients are very fresh in that area. So, I mean, if you do have plans to travel to Yeosu, it's a must try.
Well, my mouth is watering. I'll be planning on my trip to Yeosu now. So what about you, Famu?
Well, I work a lot in the Gyeongsang-bukdo area, so I always recommend places like Pohang or Gyeongju. I feel like it's a great way of escaping the busy lifestyle that we have here in Seoul, and the food is also great. I would recommend, for example, sambap. Sambap in Gyeongju is very, very nice. And then my absolute favorite spot would have to be Jeju Island because of the tropical vibe, and I was very surprised because I didn't have that very high expectations when I went there, but actually the water is very crystal clear, and it was one of the most beautiful spots that I've ever been to.
Right, so what then tips would you give to travelers who are visiting Korea?
For those who plan to actually visit Seoul, it's a pretty large city once you actually start to travel, and each neighborhood has a very different atmosphere. So to give you a few tips, if you plan to go to Ulchiro, it has a very retro and hip vibe. If you go to Gangnam, it's a very high-tech, bustling district, very busy. If you go to Seocheon, like you see on the screen, it's quite quiet at times and full of traditional charm. Now, Hongdae has a fashionable and youthful energy, and Seongsu is known for its many big pop-up stores and curated boutiques. Now, if you don't have time to explore everything and everywhere, it's best to choose areas block by block and visit the neighborhoods that match your personal interests, like we talked about. And as a local myself, my go-to places would be Busan and Jeju-do Island. Why not?
So there's a plethora of places to visit right here in Korea. And it's fascinating how each neighborhood offers such a different vibe here in Seoul. And beyond where to go, technology can also make traveling around Korea a lot easier. So are there any useful apps that travelers who are coming to Korea should download, Fabio?
A lot of them, and I would definitely recommend people to plan ahead their trip because there's a lot of different options that they have. And Korea is very well known for having very good IT, and that shows on their platforms and services that they offer. So for example, one big recommendation would be downloading the app maps that we have here in Korea instead of the international ones, because they will give you much more detailed explanations about the places, and it's going to be much easier to move around. And then you also have other apps that offer, well, free things or even coupons or discounts. I do have to say that one of the things that many visitors and foreigners should be aware of is that many of the good services that you can take advantage of when you're in Korea require you to have a Korean telephone number. So it might be a little bit hard at first, but there's actually a lot of opportunities for foreigners and other people from all around the world that Koreans don't really get. So there's a lot of immersive experiences and cultural events and even like one-day classes that only foreigners can access for a very low price or even for free. So I would definitely recommend to check the web pages from the government or web pages that offer this type of programs, because getting, for example, a local tour for free in South Korea while wearing a hanbok would be like a perfect experience that you cannot really replicate in other countries.
Right, so from chasing new experiences to finding a mental escape, travel means different things to different people. But for many young travelers, it's becoming an important part of how they live and explore the world. And with Korea also rising as a popular destination, the country is attracting more attention from travelers around the globe. And as interest grows, we'll be watching to see if Korea continues climbing the list of must-visit destinations. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 in Korea time with more stories and discussions. Big thanks to Q.
Thanks for having me.
For coming in. Also Fabio.
Thank you for having me too.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Perhaps this will inspire you to start planning your next trip, hopefully to Korea. We are News Generation.